Praise the Lord, everyone. Brother Roop here. We are in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 25. Book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 25. Gretchen and I are still in Pioneer, Ohio, and enjoying this cool weather. It's going to get to about 75 degrees as a high, and we are in the first week of September, so that is nice. But anyway, Acts chapter 17, verse 25 says, "Neither is worshipped with man's hands as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth all life and breath and all things." Just to give you a little background, Paul is up on Mars Hill talking to the Greek philosophers and the movers and shakers of Athens. And he mentioned that he was walking around Athens and noticed all the temples and idolatry, and noticed that they had a temple to the unknown God. Well, that's because the Greeks and Platoism believed that they had a creator God that created a whole universe and backed off and then had nothing to do with the universe again. And so they didn't know the name of this creator God, or where he came from or where he was. But they did know he existed, or thought he existed, and had a temple to him. So, as they had temples to just about anything. so Paul saw this as an opportunity to preach a message to him. And he said, "I know who that creator God is." Now, as I said in the last video, he didn't call him by name because the Greeks were looking to find something on Paul. They were looking to see if they could put him on trial. And so he was kind of vague, using deity instead of Yahweh or Jesus Christ. So he's mentioning that he knows the God that created all things in breath and life, which was something very new to the Greeks, because the Greeks, as all people back then, thought that gods were territorial. The Greek gods stayed in Greece. Romans gods of the Romans stayed in Italy, and the Egyptian gods all stayed in Egypt. And they thought the Jewish God, Yahweh, would stay in Israel. As nations were territorial, the saying was that their gods were just as territorial. So to say for Paul to come to them, a polytheistic society, and tell them that he knows of a God that created all life, all breath, and created all things. Well, that was a very arrogant thought. To the Greeks and Romans, that was a very arrogant thought. Because what about their gods? So Paul's saying his God created all things, and their gods didn't even exist. That's a very arrogant thought back then. Not so much today, but it was back then. And so Paul's really setting them up to get them curious. He's sidestepping their pre-trial, but he's also getting them curious so that he can preach them longer, preach them at another time, and it's going to work. You're going to see later on, the later verses, it's going to work. Some will convert or become followers of Paul. And we'll see that next. Thank you, and God bless you.